My heart is breaking. Gobbled it up. Beautiful. And it's just very well written. This was a pain to read. Way too long. We are doing a May/June recap because I have been so overwhelmed with my law exams. I've had barely any time to record. And stick to the end of the video for an update on how my boyfriend is doing with ACOTAR. It's gonna be May. I started off May with The Cruel Prince, which was a breath of fresh air after Fourth Wing. Garbage. A friend recommended this, and when I bought it, I didn't even look at the name of the author. And then I found out that Holly Black actually wrote Spiderwick, which is a series I was obsessed with when I was a kid. So then I got ridiculously excited about reading this. Even my mom read all of Spiderwick and liked it. And with The Cruel Prince, Holly definitely managed to capture me again because she is exceptional at writing whimsical fairy worlds. I still have very vivid pictures of what I imagined some of the creatures from Spiderwick looked like, and I was like 10 when I read it. The world building in The Cruel Prince is absolutely beautiful, and Holly's writing style really fits the genre. And to me, this is proof that you don't have to use simple language for a book to be easy to read. The words here just flow. And if I wasn't reading this as part of a newly established two-person book club with one of my friends, I would have probably finished it in a day. The plot is simple, with a few twists and turns. The main character is likable, and her motivations and why she is the way she is, at least to me, are very clear from the get-go. But I love the side character ensemble the most because they really add to the world building, and this gets a solid 4 out of 5. The Wicked King was good, but I do prefer The Cruel Prince more. My only problem with this one is the romance between the two main characters. The love development feels kind of out of nowhere. There's no real build-up, and there are barely any interactions. The book's focus is on the plot itself, and the romance is just kind of there, which I don't necessarily mind, but I do wish there was a little bit more of it, because I can't really feel the connection between the two main characters. Again though, really easy to read, and I love Holly's writing style, so 4 out of 5. It took me a while to finish The Queen of Nothing, even though it's the shortest. My favorite characters are Madoc, Grimamog, and Oriana, in that specific order. And there's just something about Jude in this book that I found really off-putting. The ending felt anticlimactic, the story felt rushed and sloppy. Also, unfortunately, the whole Jude-Cardan relationship and the death of their emotions feels forced to me. The whole series just generally needed more Cardan. Now, the romance in this whole series was definitely a subplot, and the main focus was on the politics, which is fine in itself. But because the romance was also part of the politics, but not enough attention was paid to it, it just felt sloppy. Just as a comparison, the Mistborn series also had a subplot of romance, and the main focus was on the politics. And that subplot was so well executed, it drove me to tears in the end. I don't know, The Queen of Nothing was a bit of a disappointment, so this one gets a 3 out of 5. Now, Vicious was a book club read, and I gobbled it up. This baby has an interesting plot with complex and likable characters that were given death from the beginning. You don't know who to like or dislike, and there isn't a right or wrong in this book, because at the end it all comes down to your personal beliefs. Also, I must comment how nice both of these books feel in your hand, and how well they spread out. Like, look at this. Look at it. This is beautiful, okay? It's beautiful. Anyway, the writing is fast-paced and the story is broken through time. 10 years ago, 5 weeks ago, 2 hours ago, 1 day ago. It keeps things interesting, and it made me very curious about what would happen next. Now, I do have to say though that one of my friends did not like that at all. She started getting annoyed by the constant jumping in time. Another strong point, at least to me, is that the power system is quite well thought out. The third-person POV is very well executed, and it really allows the reader to explore the motivations and thought process of the characters. and it's just very well written. It was also really easy to read despite the heavy themes. And I think just after reading the first 100 or 200 pages, we all kind of collectively decided that we are definitely going to read more from the same author. So this one gets a solid 5 out of 5. And I enjoyed Vicious so much that I jumped to Vengeful straight away, even though the rest of the book club still haven't finished Vicious.
Yo, you about done? Tick-tock,
I can't decide if I like this one or the first one more, but I would probably say I like Vicious more just because the focus is on Victor and Eli. In Vengeful, we get a bunch of new characters with interesting storylines and powers, but I'm not sure how I feel about the ending. Spoiler alert, skip to this timestamp if you haven't read the book. Including you, my book club members. I completely forgot about the doctor until he showed up, and that was a very nice plot development. I did end up feeling sorry for Eli, and I'm kind of sad about the way his arc ended. I was very sad about Dominic, because I honestly felt like he deserved to live a life without pain for much longer. And his power is also a power I would like to have for myself. There were definitely some plot holes around Marcella and June, but I am willing to ignore them. So Vengeful also gets a 5 out of 5. And the last book of May was the Thursday Murder Club. To be fair, I bought it only because I had nothing else to read and it was £4 at the supermarket. Where to start from? I didn't like the switch between first-person POV and third-person. I get why it's done. Some of the chapters are the diary entries of one of the main characters, but it just missed the mark. A load of characters were introduced way too fast, and there were lots of unnecessary details. Like, what's up with the super long paragraphs? Wait, I will show you. The sun is killing me. Jeez. Okay, do you see it now? Do you see this? Do you see how flipping long this is? Why? This was a pain to read. I also think it's trying way too hard to be funny, while the writing itself lacks life, spark. It just feels flat. And right at this moment, the sun went away again. The murder plot is secondary. The emphasis is on the characters. And I didn't feel invested in the murder mystery at all. What the book did achieve was make me sad and cry over what it's going to be like growing old and possibly watching my husband die. Great. Thanks. It did finally get interesting in the second part, but the end of one of the plot lines didn't make sense to me at all. Spoiler, skip to this timestamp. The John and Penny thing was kind of pointless, even though I was expecting them to be involved. Penny was just an empty shell. What was Johnny trying to protect? Was it Johnny or John? Johnny, John? John. Yeah, so what was he trying to protect? Was it her reputation? She wouldn't have been sent to prison. Hell, it would have taken the police and the prosecution some time to figure out it was her and then bring the case to court. She'd probably be dead by then. Yes, their estate could be sued by whoever survived the dude she killed, but judging by what was said about him, he had no one. And there is probably a statute of limitation for the civil lawsuit, although the murderer wouldn't have been known within that statute of limitation, so there would probably be an exception in this case. Maybe? But that's irrelevant anyway, because the dude had no one. So what was the point of John killing someone to protect Penny? And finally, the book is definitely targeted towards people who live in the UK or have lived in the UK, because there are so many references that would go over your head if you haven't lived in the UK and you haven't known elderly people. I would only buy the second book if I were at an airport and I had nothing else to read, and my only other options were trashy romances, self-help books, and autobiographies. 2 out of 5.
June 3rd.
Yes.
The Way of Kings. let's get this out of the way first. Why? Why does the publisher insist on publishing Brandon Sanderson books in this size? I can barely hold this. This book is way too long to be this small. Okay? Also, the ink is staining. I have some pages now that have some like little ink smudges. Why? It seems like whenever I find a fantasy book that I really like, I find it hard to comment on it, which might be weird, but it is what it is. And I'm pretty sure it's simply because there are certain things I look for in a fantasy, and when all the boxes are checked, that's it. So as I go through this series, you will probably keep hearing me talk about the world building, the politics, the magic system, the religion, because the boxes are ticked. I like Brandon's writing style. I am invested in the story and I just want to keep reading. And that's it, honestly. 5 out of 5. I read Powerless as part of our 2-person fantasy book club. And we both deeply regret this decision. First of all, if you're going to write from a first-person POV, stick to one person. Seriously, the writing, as far as vocabulary and sentence structure, is fine. But there is so much repeating of unnecessary stuff. Yes, Kai, we get it. You like walking around half naked.
Doesn't he own a shirt?
And if you remove all the writing about eyes, hair, and smiles, this would be at least 50 pages shorter. And the plot is so unoriginal to the point it gets frustrating. And yes, I know that at this point, you can't really say that there's anything original out there. Yes, we take inspiration from other people's works, but this is a blatant wish copy of The Hunger Games. Okay, this is The Hunger Games meets Psych.
I'm getting a reading right now, yes. You spend a great deal of time in front of your computer. I see a girl. Yes, you like her from afar. She doesn't really know you exist.
Yes! Yes!
It's also wildly predictable, and there were so many obnoxious anime moments. Example, her honey eyes seem to glitter with mischief. I'm Andy. Pedin, is that how you pronounce her name? I say, offering her a small smile. Well, if you're making introductions, a deep voice carries from the other end of the table. I'm Braxton. I look up to see a huge, dark-skinned boy tipping his head toward me. I nod at him as a higher male voice calls out, I'm Jax! I look down the table at him, taking in his shy smile. Names are now being shouted across the table. I'm Sadie, blah blah blah. Blair, pleasure to meet you, blah blah blah. The pleasure is all mine, blah blah blah. And I'm Kai, but you already knew that. Zero character death. There isn't a single character that's not annoying. And the magic system is just lazy. There is no structure to it. It kind of feels like the author just wanted free range to come up with whatever powers she wanted to whenever she wanted to. And there isn't any power balance. And what's even the point of the trials? Does the author ever explain it in this book? This is worse than Fourth Wing. My heart is breaking. 1 out of 5. My expectations were way too high when I started reading The Starless Sea. I absolutely love The Night Circus. I love it so much, I brought my copy with me when I moved to the UK just so I could look at it for comfort. Erin's writing style is beautiful, and she has the ability to take you out of reality and immerse you into whatever setting she wants you to be immersed in. This is a book for book lovers, not people who like books and whose hobby is reading books, but for people who actually love books, love reading them, holding them, looking at them, smelling them. It's for people who revere books. It is not a book you read for the plot. It's definitely not a bad book, but I wouldn't call it good either. It's just nice. And here's the thing, if I had read this before reading The Night Circus, I wouldn't have read The Night Circus, which is honestly sad because I'm reading this as part of a book club, and none of my friends in the club have read The Night Circus, and The Starless Sea is their first introduction to Erin's works. Anyway, 3 out of 5. So, Boyfriend finished ACOTAR and is now reading A Court of Mist and Fury. He liked the first book enough to go on to the second, but once he started the second, he was really close to dropping it, and I had to give him some spoilers to keep him reading. And I'd say the main issues are that he hates Tampon and he finds Feyre annoying. But now that he's met the Night Court, he's very excited. And when I told him Cassian gets his own book, I had to stop him from jumping straight into reading A Court of Silver Flames. He is also putting the series into the fun, brainless, relaxing category because he thinks the lore and plot are quite simple, and if it weren't for the fun banter, it would get boring quite quickly. I am excited for him to finish this one and then go to A Court of Wings and Wound, because that is my favorite one in the series. So once again, I'll keep you updated. I would love to hear what you are reading this summer, or if you have any book recommendations. Like, subscribe, follow me on Goodreads if you want to see what I'm reading, or if you want to read together. And you can check out this video for another book review, or you can check out this one for whatever YouTube thinks you will like. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.